"You want to know if I'm not wearing anything underneath," she whispered. Captain Alia Reyes stood in front of the star chart display in the control room of the Astra Horizon. The ship was silent, as the hum of its engines faded into the background. Alia's eyes scanned the holographic map of the uncharted star system they were currently exploring. It was an area of space few human ships had ever ventured into, and the unknown beckoned her with a mix of excitement and caution. She had spent her entire career exploring the far reaches of space, but something about this mission felt different. The system they had entered had no name, and the only planet that seemed worth investigating was a moon orbiting a gas giant. It was desolate, barren, and uninhabited, just the kind of place where no one would expect to find anything of interest. But Alia had learned that space always had a way of surprising those who thought they knew it all. Her team was still in the process of scanning the surroundings when a strange signal came through on the communication system. It wasn't the usual static or distant radio waves. No, this signal was clear, direct, and almost alive. "Captain, you need to hear this," Lieutenant Mark Daniels called out from his station, his voice tense. Alia turned, walking over to him. "What is it?" "I don't know, ma'am," Mark said, his fingers flying over the console. "It's some kind of transmission, but it's not like anything we've picked up before." Alia raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, not like anything we've picked up before?" Mark's eyes locked onto the screen, his face full of confusion. "I'm not sure. It's not just data." "It's a voice, a woman's voice." Alia frowned. This wasn't typical. Communications from deep space usually involved faint signals from distant radio towers or cosmic background radiation. But this was different. "Play it," she ordered. The voice echoed through the room, soft and almost inviting, though the words were strange. "You want to know if I'm not wearing anything underneath?" For a moment, the crew was silent. Alia stood still, trying to make sense of what she had just heard. What kind of message was this? And who was it for? It didn't make any sense. The words seemed like an odd joke, but Alia could tell there was something else hidden in the voice, something not quite right. She walked back to her command seat and tapped a button on her console. "Can you trace the origin of that transmission?" Mark worked quickly, his fingers dancing across his keyboard. "I'm trying, Captain. The signal is coming from the surface of that moon. It's not a natural source. Someone or something is down there." Alia's heart began to beat faster. A voice, a strange message, a hidden origin. It all pointed to one thing. Something was waiting for them on that desolate moon. "Prepare a landing party." "We're going down there," Alia said, her voice steady despite the growing unease in her chest. "I want answers." The crew scrambled into action, getting the landing shuttles ready. Alia could sense the excitement and tension in the air, both from her crew and from herself. They didn't know what they were about to find, but that was the thrill of exploration. The unknown was always just around the corner, waiting to reveal its secrets. An hour later, the Astra Horizon was in orbit around the moon. The landscape below was a mix of rocky plains and jagged cliffs, with no sign of life. The atmosphere was thin, barely enough to keep out the deadly radiation of space. There was nothing here, no evidence of civilization, just lifeless terrain. "Let's do this," Alia said as she boarded the shuttle, followed by her team. They suited up in their protective gear, ready for anything. The shuttle descended toward the surface, the engines humming softly as the moon's gravity pulled them down. As they landed, Alia's eyes scanned the barren landscape through the shuttle's windows. There was something strange about the place. It felt old, as if the entire moon carried a secret it was unwilling to share. The shuttle door hissed open and the team stepped onto the cold, dusty ground. The air was thin but breathable thanks to their suits. Alia led the way, her boots crunching softly against the rocky surface. "This is it," she said, looking around. "Let's start by checking out that signal's source." They moved cautiously toward the coordinates. the silence broken only by the sound of their boots on the ground. As they walked, Alia couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that something was waiting just out of sight. After a few minutes of walking, they came to a strange structure, a large, metallic object buried halfway in the moon's surface. It looked like an old building, but the design was unlike anything human. Smooth, curved surfaces, intricate patterns, and glowing symbols covered the walls. The structure seemed to pulse with a strange energy, as though it were alive. "This is definitely not human-made," Mark said, his voice filled with awe. Alia stepped forward, examining the structure closely. "Whatever it is, it's ancient. We need to be careful." She tapped a button on her wrist communicator. "Send a drone to scan the interior." The drone floated inside the structure, sending back images of a large chamber. In the center of the room was what appeared to be an alien device, its shape unlike anything Alia had seen before. It was spherical, with complex patterns of light running along its surface. A low hum filled the air as the drone approached it, and Alia felt a chill run down her spine. "It's active," Mark said, his voice tight, "but it's not transmitting anything anymore." Alia frowned. "We need to get closer. This could be the source of the message." The team approached the entrance of the structure. As they crossed the threshold, the air seemed to change. The temperature dropped, and the strange energy within the walls grew stronger. Alia's instincts told her to be cautious, but her curiosity pushed her forward. She stepped closer to the device in the center of the room, feeling a strange pull toward it. As she did, the voice from the transmission came again, this time echoing through the chamber. "You want to know if I'm not wearing anything underneath?" it asked once more, but this time the words were clearer, more insistent. Alia stopped, her hand hovering above the device. The voice seemed to be speaking directly to her, as if it knew her thoughts. "Why are you asking me that?" Alia whispered, more to herself than anyone else. The voice responded, soft but clear, "Because you are ready to uncover the truth." A shiver ran through Alia. She had always known space was full of mysteries, but this was different. Whatever this device was, whatever this voice was, it was something she couldn't yet understand. "Captain, we need to be careful," Mark warned, his voice full of concern. But Alia wasn't listening. She was too focused on the device, on the mystery it represented. The voice's words echoed in her mind, and she knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning of something far greater than anything they had ever encountered. The team stood frozen, staring at the strange alien device in the center of the room. The air felt heavy, as though the very walls of the structure were alive, pressing in on them. Alia's hand hovered above the device, her mind racing with questions. The voice from the transmission echoed in her thoughts, "You are ready to uncover the truth." She couldn't shake the feeling that the device was more than just a piece of alien technology. It was a puzzle, a mystery meant for her to solve. "We need to be careful," Lieutenant Mark Daniels said, his voice tight with concern. "Captain, this could be dangerous." Alia nodded, but her eyes never left the device. The voice had been clear. "You are ready." Ready for what? And why her? "Let's scan the device first," Mark suggested, stepping forward to adjust the settings on his wrist communicator. The drone that had entered the structure earlier floated back into the room, hovering beside the device. Its sensors scanned the surface, sending data back to the team's consoles. The readings were unlike anything they had ever seen. The surface of the device glowed with soft pulses of light, and the energy emanating from it was both strange and familiar, almost as if it were calling to them. "Captain," Mark said, his voice trembling slightly, "the energy readings are off the charts. This isn't like anything we have back on Earth. It's almost as if the device is alive." Alia frowned. "Alive?" "Yes, alive. The energy isn't constant, it fluctuates like a heartbeat." Alia stepped closer, her boots clicking softly on the stone floor. She reached out, her fingers brushing the surface of the device. The moment her skin made contact, a jolt of energy surged through her body. It wasn't painful, but it was powerful, filling her with a sense of clarity, as though the device had unlocked something deep within her mind. For a moment, the room seemed to fade away. A vision flooded her thoughts. The walls of the chamber disappeared, and she was no longer on the moon. Instead, she stood in a vast, ancient city, surrounded by towering structures of glass and metal. The sky was a deep shade of violet, and strange, luminescent creatures flew overhead. The ground beneath her feet was solid, but there was a faint hum in the air, as if the entire city was alive. The vision shifted. The city was now in ruins. Buildings lay in rubble, and the sky had turned an ominous red. A massive storm raged above, sending bolts of energy crashing into the earth. Alia could see figures in the distance, alien beings, running in panic. Their bodies were tall, with slender frames and glowing eyes. The world was collapsing around them. Suddenly, a voice spoke in her mind. It was the same voice from the transmission, soft but commanding. This is what happens when power is misused. The vision faded, and Alia was back in the chamber, her hand still resting on the device. She blinked, trying to steady herself. What had just happened? Was that a memory of the alien civilization, or was it something more? "Captain," Mark called, his voice laced with worry. "Are you okay?" Alia pulled her hand away from the device, her breathing quick. She looked around as though she had just woken from a dream. "I'm fine," she said, though her voice was unsteady. She had seen something important, but it was slipping away like sand through her fingers. Mark stepped forward, looking at her with concern. "Captain, we need to be cautious. We don't know what this device can do. It might be dangerous." Alia took a deep breath and straightened herself. She couldn't afford to be afraid, not now. "I know," she said firmly, "but I need to understand what's happening. We can't leave without answers." She turned back to the device, feeling its pull again. There was something about it, a mystery she needed to solve. As much as she tried to shake off the feeling of unease, she couldn't ignore it. Whatever this artifact was, it held the key to understanding the downfall of the alien civilization. "We'll take it with us," Alia said, her voice resolute. "Prepare to move it." Mark hesitated. "Captain, I'm not sure that's a good idea." "We're taking it," Alia interrupted. "We need answers. If we leave it here, we may never get another chance to study it." Mark nodded reluctantly, though his expression remained tense. "Understood, Captain." The team began the delicate process of carefully lifting the device, using specialized equipment to secure it. The object seemed to hum as they moved it, as though it were aware of their actions. Alia could feel the energy vibrating through the air, and she couldn't help but wonder if the device was trying to communicate with her. Once the device was secured, Alia gave the order to return to the shuttle. As they walked back to the landing site, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them, something just beyond the reach of her senses. Back at the shuttle, the team boarded, and the ship began its ascent from the moon's surface. Alia sat in the command seat, her eyes fixed on the window as the moon grew smaller behind them. The eerie silence of space surrounded them, and for a moment, Alia allowed herself to relax. But her thoughts were still on the vision she had seen, the destruction of the alien city, the strange figures running in fear. "What happened to them?" she muttered to herself. Mark sat beside her, watching her closely. "Captain, what did you see down there?" Alia turned to him, her face pale. "It was a vision, Mark, a vision of what happened to them, the aliens who built that device. I saw their city, their fall. It was a warning." "A warning?" Mark asked, confused. "A warning about what?" Alia's gaze drifted to the device, now secured in the shuttle's hold. "I think it's a warning about what we might become if we misuse this technology. The aliens, they were too powerful. They thought they could control everything, and it destroyed them." Mark frowned. "But we're not like them. We've learned from our mistakes." Alia shook her head slowly. "I hope you're right, but something about that device feels different. It's not just a relic, it's a weapon, a tool for something much greater, something dangerous." The shuttle made its way back to the Astra horizon, and as the crew settled into their duties, Alia couldn't help but wonder if the mysterious alien artifact would be humanity's greatest discovery or its greatest mistake. She had always believed that knowledge was the key to survival in space, but this felt different. It wasn't just about exploration anymore, it was about control. And Alia wasn't sure if they were ready for what lay ahead. The Astra horizon cruised through the blackness of space, its engines humming softly as it traveled back toward familiar space. Alia Reyes sat at the command deck, her eyes focused on the small, sealed compartment in front of her. Inside was the alien artifact they had retrieved from the moon, a device that seemed to have a life of its own. The hum of its energy filled the room even though it wasn't physically making any noise. It was unsettling. Alia couldn't shake the feeling that the artifact was watching her, waiting for something only she could understand. The vision she had experienced on the moon replayed in her mind again and again. The alien city, its destruction, the frightened beings fleeing from an unknown catastrophe. The warning was clear. This is what happens when power is misused. But the question remained, what power did this device truly hold, and was humanity ready for it? "We've arrived in orbit around the station, Captain," Mark Daniels' voice broke through her thoughts. "Should we begin preparations for docking?" Alia looked up, her mind returning to the present. The Astra horizon was approaching a large space station that orbited a gas giant in the next system. It was a research station, a safe place to study the artifact and gather more data. The station was neutral ground, far away from any dangerous political tensions. It would be the perfect place to learn more about the mysterious device. "Docking sequence initiated," Alia said, turning her chair toward the station's docking bay. She stood up and walked to the window, watching as the massive research station grew closer. "Let's get this artifact into secure hands and see what we can learn from it." The docking process went smoothly. Within an hour, the Astra horizon had completed its docking procedure, and Alia and her team were ready to disembark. As they stepped into the station, the air was thick with a mix of excitement and unease. The station's researchers had been notified of the artifact's arrival, and they had prepared to study it immediately. Alia wasn't sure what they would find, but one thing was clear. This was no ordinary relic. Inside the station's main laboratory, the team carefully unloaded the artifact. It sat on a floating platform, the energy around it crackling softly. The room was filled with scientists, engineers, and other personnel, all eager to get a closer look at the device. "Captain Reyes," a voice called out. A tall man with dark hair and glasses stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Lucas Hardin. We've been briefed about the artifact. I have to say, this is unlike anything we've ever encountered." Alia nodded. "We're all in the dark about this. We need to understand what it is and, more importantly, what it can do." Dr. Hardin looked down at the artifact, his eyes wide. "I've never seen anything like it. The energy signatures it gives off are strange. It's almost as if it's alive." "I've felt the same way," Alia replied. "It hums with power, but I'm worried it's more dangerous than we realize." "We'll proceed with caution," Dr. Hardin said. "Let's begin by analyzing its surface. If we can understand its materials, maybe we can get some clues about its origin." The team of scientists began their work, running various scans and tests on the artifact. Alia watched them closely, her arms crossed. Her mind kept returning to the vision of the alien civilization, their grand city, their pride, their fall. What had gone wrong? She had seen the destruction, but she didn't understand why. And the warning was still clear in her mind. Don't misuse this power. As the scans continued, the data began to pour in. The results were both incredible and terrifying. The artifact was made of a material that was completely unknown to humanity. It wasn't just metal or crystal. It seemed to be a combination of both, with properties that defied the laws of physics. It could store vast amounts of energy, yet it didn't seem to have any conventional energy source. It was as if the artifact itself generated the energy it needed. "This is incredible," Dr. Hardin said, his voice filled with awe. "I've never seen anything like this. The material isn't just alien, it's beyond anything we know. It's like it's designed to interact with space itself." "Interacting with space itself?" Mark asked, leaning over the console. "You mean like it can control gravity or space-time?" "Possibly," Dr. Hardin replied, his eyes lighting up. "But it's too soon to tell. We need to test its behavior more. If we can figure out how it works, we might be able to unlock its potential." Alia felt a knot form in her stomach. Unlock its potential. Was that really something they should be doing? She thought back to the alien civilization's fall. Did they unlock its potential? Was that what led to their destruction? She turned away from the scientists, stepping toward a window that overlooked the stars. The Astra horizon was still docked at the station, and the endless void of space stretched out before her. She had always loved the quiet, the peacefulness of it, but now it seemed full of uncertainty. "Captain Reyes," Dr. Hardin called, pulling her back to the present. "We've found something else." Alia turned and walked back to the console. The team had uncovered a hidden compartment within the artifact. As they opened it, they found something unexpected: a small, holographic projector embedded in the device. It flickered to life as they activated it, casting a soft blue glow across the room. A figure appeared in the hologram. It was humanoid in shape, tall, with glowing eyes and slender limbs. The figure spoke in a language Alia couldn't understand, but as it did, images began to appear around it, visions of the alien world. The city, the people, the sky. The destruction, the storm that had torn everything apart. The figure's eyes locked onto Alia, even though it was just a hologram. Its voice echoed in her mind. "You seek the truth, Captain Reyes. You must understand what happened to us." Alia's heart skipped a beat. What happened to you?" she whispered. The hologram's expression changed, and for the first time it seemed to show emotion, sadness, regret. "We sought power. We believed we could control time itself, control the very fabric of space. We were wrong. Our hubris led to our fall. We are the last of our kind, and we are warning you." The hologram flickered and began to fade. Before it vanished completely, it spoke one final time. "Do not repeat our mistake. Do not misuse the power you have found. It will destroy you just as it destroyed us." The room fell silent as the hologram disappeared. Alia stood still, her mind racing. She could feel the weight of the warning pressing on her chest. The alien race had tried to control the very essence of the universe, and it had destroyed them. Was humanity truly ready for that kind of power? Dr. Hardin spoke first, his voice shaky. This is incredible, but terrifying. We've found a piece of their history." "And a warning." Alia turned to face him, her expression serious. "It's more than just a warning, it's a choice. We have to decide if we're willing to take the risk of unlocking this power, but we must understand the cost." Mark spoke up, his voice uncertain. "Do you think humanity is ready for this?" Alia hesitated. "I don't know," she thought, but the reality was clear. The power to control space, time, and energy was within their reach, and that power was both a gift and a curse. They had to be careful, or they might follow the same path as the civilization that had come before them. The Astra horizon drifted in orbit above the research station, its hull glowing softly in the light of the distant star. Inside, the crew was tense, each person feeling the weight of the decisions they had to make. The alien artifact, now secured in a high-security chamber, seemed to hum quietly, almost as if it was alive. Its power, its mystery, and its warning all pressed down on Captain Alia Reyes as she stood in front of the small conference table, surrounded by her team. Alia's mind raced. The holographic message they had received from the ancient alien civilization echoed in her thoughts. "Do not repeat our mistake. Do not misuse the power you have found. It will destroy you just as it destroyed us. The warning had been clear, but the temptation to unlock the power of the artifact was strong. It was the kind of discovery that could change everything, everything for humanity. "Captain," Mark Daniels said quietly, breaking the silence, "we've analyzed all the data. The artifact is capable of manipulating spacetime itself. We can control gravity, move through time, and even bend the laws of physics to our will. It's not just a tool, it's a weapon, a tool that could change the future of humanity." "I know," Alia replied softly, her voice distant. She stared at the table, her fingers tapping nervously. "But that's the problem. The aliens who built it thought the same thing, and look what happened to them." Mark shook his head. "But we're different. We've learned from our mistakes. We have safeguards, control systems, and regulations. If we use this power wisely, we might be able to save millions of lives," Alia finished for him. "I know, but it's not that simple, Mark. We can't ignore the fact that the alien civilization was destroyed by their own hubris. They thought they could control everything. They thought they could wield the power of the universe, and it destroyed them. We won't make the same mistakes," Mark said, his voice firm. "We can learn from their fall and avoid their mistakes. Humanity is capable of more. We're more prepared for this kind of power than they were." Alia looked up, meeting his gaze. She could see the determination in Mark's eyes. The others in the room were silent, waiting for her decision. They all knew the stakes. Alia took a deep breath. "But what if we're wrong?" she whispered. "We'll find out," Mark said. "We have to. It's the only way forward." The room fell silent again. Alia stood, walking slowly to the window that overlooked the research station and the swirling gases of the gas giant below. The stars glittered in the distance, endless and cold. She had always loved the beauty of space, but now it seemed like a vast, empty void filled with uncertainty. What if Mark was right? What if humanity could use the artifact to advance, to grow, to thrive? But what if they were wrong? The warning from the alien civilization kept echoing in her mind. Do not misuse the power. The images of their fall, of the destruction of their city, of their people running in fear, flashed in her mind. They had tried to control time, to manipulate reality itself, and it had destroyed them. She turned away from the window, her eyes scanning the faces of her crew. Mark, Dr. Hardin, Lieutenant Daniels, and the others were all watching her, waiting for her decision. They believed in her. They trusted her judgment. But was she ready to trust them? Was she ready to trust the artifact? "We can't just ignore the risks," Alia said, her voice firm now. "But we can't turn our backs on the possibilities either." "Captain," Mark said gently, "you don't have to decide this alone. We're all in this together. We've come this far. We can handle what comes next." Alia felt the weight of his words settle on her shoulders. It wasn't just her decision. It was their decision. They were a team, and they would have to face whatever came next together. "I'm not sure we're ready," Alia said quietly. "None of us are." "We'll never be ready if we don't try," Mark replied. Alia took a deep breath. The power of the artifact was real. The temptation to use it was real. But so was the risk. They could change everything, or they could destroy everything. There was no turning back once they made their choice. She turned back to the table where the hologram of the artifact was projected. It sat there, silent and waiting, as if it knew the decision was coming. She knew what she had to do. "We'll continue studying it," Alia said finally, her voice steady. "But we won't use it, not yet. We'll gather more data, understand its mechanics, and develop a plan. We'll make sure we're fully prepared before we even think about using this power." Mark looked disappointed but nodded in agreement. "Understood, Captain." Alia turned to Dr. Hardin. "I want you and your team to run a full analysis. No stone unturned. If there's even a chance we might be able to harness this power safely, we need to know." Dr. Hardin nodded. "We'll work day and night if we have to. We won't rush it, but we'll get to the bottom of it." Alia felt a weight lift off her chest. It wasn't the easy choice, but it was the right one. They would study the artifact, understand its potential and its dangers. They wouldn't repeat the mistakes of the alien civilization, not without knowing exactly what they were getting into. As the crew began to disperse, Alia remained at the table, staring at the holographic projection of the artifact. The room was silent once again, but this time it was a silence of purpose, a silence of determination. But in the back of her mind, she knew that the true test was yet to come. They would have to be ready, not just to use the artifact, but to control it, to make sure it never controlled them. She knew that humanity's future depended on the choice they had made. And she only hoped they were making the right one. Several days passed as the research team worked tirelessly. Alia's decision to hold off on using the artifact had been met with mixed reactions from the crew. Some respected her caution, while others were eager to unlock the power of the device. Alia could feel the tension growing, but she stood firm. She wasn't going to rush into something this dangerous. One evening, as Alia sat in her quarters reviewing reports, Mark knocked on the door. "Captain," he said as he entered, "there's something you need to see. Dr. Harden found something. It's a message." "A message?" Alia asked, standing up and following Mark down the hallway. Mark led her to the lab, where Dr. Harden and his team were gathered around a console. The screen displayed a new hologram, this one flickering and unstable, but still recognizable. It was the same figure from the first message, the alien being, its eyes glowing. "Captain Reyes," the figure said in a voice that sent chills down her spine. "You have made the right choice, but the time is coming. The power you seek cannot be controlled forever. It will find its way to those who will misuse it. When that happens, you will need to be ready. We are the last of our kind. We fell, but you must rise." The hologram flickered out, leaving only silence behind. Alia stared at the empty space in front of her. The message had been clear. The artifact was only the beginning. The real challenge was ahead.